The lunch rush was brutal. Orders flew in faster than Emily could scribble them down, plates clattered, and the smell of burnt coffee filled the air. Her apron was stained, her feet ached, and her throat was dry from calling out table numbers all morning. But she didn't stop, not for a second. Because she couldn't afford to, not today. Not even today, the day of her mother's funeral. Emily swallowed hard, trying to focus as she balanced 3 plates in her trembling hands. Her manager's voice echoed from behind the counter, sharp and impatient. "Table 9's waiting, Emily. Let's move, we don't have all day." She nodded, forcing a smile as she approached the table. A well-dressed man in his 50s sat alone, tapping away on a sleek tablet. His expensive watch gleamed under the cafe's dull yellow lights. He looked wildly out of place among the chipped tables and scuffed floors of the roadside diner. "Good afternoon, sir," Emily said, voice cracking slightly. "Here's your grilled salmon and coffee. Can I get you anything else?" The man glanced up, his blue eyes calm but observant. "No, thank you," he said softly. His gaze lingered for a moment longer than usual, as if he'd noticed something off in her trembling hands or red, swollen eyes. "Rough day?" he asked quietly. Emily forced a shaky laugh. "You could say that. Just, long shifts." He nodded, polite but curious. "You must really need this job." Her lips pressed together. She didn't answer, just turned back toward the kitchen. Because if she spoke, she might cry, and she couldn't afford that either. Not in front of customers. Hours passed. Plates came and went, smiles were faked, and tears were swallowed. The restaurant buzzed with chatter, but inside Emily, everything was silent. Her mother's face kept flashing in her mind, frail, smiling weakly from the hospital bed just a week ago. "I'm proud of you, Emmy," her mother had whispered. "Don't let this world break your kindness." And now she was gone. Buried in a small cemetery across town, while Emily poured coffee for strangers, she needed, to be there. But when she'd begged her manager that morning for a few hours off, he'd snapped, "You walk out today, don't bother coming back. We're short-staffed, Emily. Life doesn't stop for anyone, not even funerals." Her paycheck barely covered rent and her little brother's school supplies. She couldn't lose this job. So, she'd stayed, and as the clock ticked past 3 p.m., the time her mother's coffin would have been lowered into the ground, Emily bit the inside of her cheek and whispered an apology under her breath. Later that evening, the diner finally quieted down. The man from table 9 was still there, sipping his now cold coffee. He had been typing for hours, occasionally glancing toward Emily. As she wiped the counter, he finally spoke again. "You've been on your feet all day. Don't you get a break?" She gave a tired smile. "Breaks aren't really part of the job description." "Still," he said, studying her face, "no one can work like this without a reason." Something in his tone, gentle but firm, made her stop. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe she just needed to be heard, but the truth slipped out before she could stop it. "My mom's funeral was today," she said quietly, eyes downcast. "I couldn't go because I needed the shift." The man froze. His tablet screen dimmed as his fingers stopped moving. "I'm sorry," he whispered after a long pause. "You missed your own mother's funeral, to work here?" Emily nodded, fighting the lump in her throat. "She'd understand," she said softly. "She always told me to take care of my brother first. He's 16. I'm all he has left." For a moment, the man didn't reply. He just watched her, this young woman barely in her 20s, trying to carry a world far too heavy for her shoulders. Then, without another word, he stood up, placed a thick envelope on the table, and walked out. Emily blinked in confusion. "Sir?" "Wait, your bill," but he was already gone. She rushed to the door, but the street outside was empty. Only the faint echo of a car engine lingered. Her heart raced as she hurried back inside and opened the envelope. Inside wasn't just cash, though there was a lot of it, more than she'd ever seen in one place. There was also a note that it read, "You don't belong behind a counter. You belong in the world, building something, not breaking yourself to survive. Use this however you need. And take tomorrow off. JD." Her hands trembled. JD, the initials felt familiar, but she couldn't place them. She looked at the cash again. There had to be thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Her manager stormed over, eyeing the envelope. "What's that?" he demanded. Emily snapped the note shut. "A tip," she said quickly. He scoffed. "Nobody tips that much." "Well," she said with a spark in her voice for the first time all day, "maybe somebody just did." That night, Emily sat by the window of her small apartment, the note on the table beside a flickering candle. Her brother, Ethan, was asleep in the next room. She could hear his soft snores, a reminder of why she'd endured it all. She looked up at the night sky, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom. I wasn't there, but I hope you see what happened." Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, "Tomorrow, come to the city center hotel, 10 a.m., JD." Her heart pounded. Was it the same man? Was this real, or some cruel trick? The next morning, Emily showed up wearing her cleanest outfit, though it was still just jeans and a faded blouse. The hotel was massive, polished marble floors, chandeliers that sparkled like starlight, and staff in uniforms that probably cost more than her monthly rent. At the reception desk, she stammered, "I have an appointment with JD." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. "Ah, yes. He's expecting you. Top floor, penthouse suite." Emily swallowed hard. As the elevator ascended, her stomach twisted. When the doors opened, she found herself face to face with the same man from the diner, now in a tailored suit, speaking to an assistant. He turned, smiled warmly, and said, "Emily. I'm glad you came." Her voice barely worked. "Who are you?" "James Donovan," he said simply. "CEO of Donovan Enterprises." Her jaw dropped. She knew that name. He was one of the richest men in the state, known for his tech empire and quiet philanthropy. He gestured toward a chair. "Sit down. I want to offer you something." Emily hesitated but obeyed. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "The money," he waved his hand. "Keep it. Consider it a door opening. I read people for a living, Emily. Yesterday, I saw something rare, strength with compassion. You could have left, but you stayed because you cared about your brother. That kind of heart can't be taught." She stared, bewildered. "But I'm just a waitress." He smiled. "No. You're someone who just hasn't been given a chance. Until now." He slid a folder across the table. Inside was a job offer, administrative trainee, full-time, with benefits and a salary that made her eyes widen. Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," he said softly. "By reminding me what real sacrifice looks like. My mother worked 3 jobs when I was your age. I lost her before I could tell her I'd made it. Yesterday, when you told me your story, it felt like she was speaking through you." Emily wiped her eyes. "I just wanted to do the right thing." "And you did," he said. "Now it's my turn." Months passed. Emily worked harder than ever, but this time, it was different. She wasn't surviving, she was growing. Her brother thrived in school, and the fear that once shadowed her every decision slowly faded. One afternoon, she visited her mother's grave, fresh flowers in hand. "Mom," she whispered, "you always told me kindness would come back someday. I think it finally did." A soft breeze brushed her hair, and she smiled through her tears. Somewhere deep inside, she knew, her mother was proud. And far across town, in his towering glass office, James Donovan looked out the window, smiling faintly at the memory of a waitress who had missed her mother's funeral but found something else instead, a second chance at life, because sometimes, the world doesn't reward strength with applause, sometimes, it rewards it with miracles.